Thank you for your interest in the Milescraft Trim 45 model number 8401. Installing decorative trim molding around window and door frames creates an elegant and finished look in any room, adding value and beauty to your home. However, undertaking a trim carpentry project can be challenging. Setting consistent reveals along the frame can be difficult to achieve and involves additional calculations. Once the appropriate lengths are determined, it can be difficult and awkward to make the necessary measurements, especially when working alone. To simplify the process of setting reveals and the measuring and marking of trim molding projects, Milescraft introduces the Trim 45 Trim Carpentry Aid. Let's take a moment to talk about the importance of creating a reveal between the frame and trim moldings. Over time, the natural structural movements of a house and the humidity content of the wood in the door or window frame will affect the flushness of the joints. As the frame settles, the corners misalign, creating an imperfection that draws the eye. This is why experienced trim carpenters install trims set back from the frame, usually between 1/8 of an inch and 1/2 of an inch. By setting the trim back this small distance, shadow lines are cast upon the frame, thus turning the viewer's attention to the brighter areas, such as the moldings themselves. Unique to the Trim 45 is the ability to set the desired reveal, allowing a small reveal to just cover old paint lines, or a big bold reveal with heavy shadow lines. To set a reveal, simply unlock the knob and slide the reveal guide to the desired dimension. Please note, when the printed scale on the reveal guide is not visible from the front of the tool, the resulting reveal will be 1/8 of an inch. Each outward click of the reveal guide increases the size of the reveal by 1/16 of an inch. When the reveal guide is fully extended and the printed scale is completely visible, the reveal will be 1/2 inch wide. Once the reveal guide is set, turn the knob back to the locked position. We are now ready to mark the frame. Place the reveal guide into the first corner of the door or window frame. With the reveal guide in place, mark the vertical and horizontal reveal position lines with a sharp pencil. Continue to mark the vertical and horizontal reveal positions for each corner of the frame. To help read the horizontal dimension in the upper right corner, just extend the vertical line above the horizontal line. You may find that using the Trim 45 to scribe complete lines as shown will make it easier to accurately line up and install the finished trim moldings. Now it's time to measure the upper horizontal trim length. To make this measurement easier, place the Trim 45 back in the first corner and secure it temporarily with 2 short nails. Don't worry about the holes left behind, as they will be covered by the trim. Rare earth magnets will help make sure your tape measure stays put while you make the necessary measurements. To obtain the inside dimension of the top and bottom trim pieces, simply measure the distance from the vertical tape slot on the Trim 45 to the vertical line previously marked. Obtain the inside dimension of the left and right trim pieces by measuring the distance from the horizontal tape slot on the Trim 45 to the horizontal line previously marked. Now we're ready to make our first cut. Set your miter saw at a 45-degree angle and cut an edge off the trim. This end will be the starting point for the finished trim dimension. Measuring from this inside edge of the trim is nearly impossible without an assistant, or the Trim 45. Simply insert the pins on the Trim 45 into the end of the trim. Put your measuring tape into the appropriate slot and measure to the previously determined length and mark the trim. Then, flip the Trim 45 over to draw your 45-degree cut line at the mark. Repeat these steps for the remaining horizontal and vertical trim pieces. You can also use the Trim 45 as a guide to line up the trim and to make sure it's perfectly located. Simply hold it in place and butt the trim against it until you secure it. As you can see, the Trim 45 will simplify the installation of trim moldings around doors and windows by providing accurate measurements and taking the guesswork out of the appropriate molding lengths. Installing decorative trim molding can be made much easier when you have the right tools. Make sure you have the Trim 45 from Milescraft with you for your next trim project.